what does it say about me that I want him to fail and I think he'll fail? Why do you want him to fail though? Like, why? All artistic fields have a number for most people, particularly those who rely on their craft as a primary source of income and not a secondary or third. Yeah, 100%. Like, I'm not even like better than anyone else. Like, I'm trying to think of what would I have to like compromise my integrity for doing what I do? Because I just talk about fashion, so there's not really like. I guess me compromising my integrity would be like Dior would be like, we're gonna give you 10 million to only ever say positive things about Dior moving forward. That would be like me like giving away my integrity. And I guess I wouldn't do it for 10 million because once again, I personally don't need a lot of money to like do what I want. Like I said it earlier when someone was saying that streamers make like 200K a month. However, there is like, because I don't value it, they would have to offer me something outrageous, which wouldn't make sense for them to offer because there's no ROI. Like they'd have to give me like $1 billion for me to do that. But that doesn't make sense because there's no ROI on spending $1 billion for me to only say like positive things. So it's very almost damn near impossible for me to sacrifice my integrity in that specific way because the finances don't work for that to be the case. I don't think it's fair to knock on Kai when we have the row being even worse in terms of copying without making changes. Yeah, but so the difference with the row is that they understand the way that the fashion market works, and so they've utilized certain strategies and techniques despite copying others to like almost kind of have a successful brand in spite of it being obvious who they're copying.
Oh, here's a
Whereas
question. Do you think there's like room in there? Because I think he's going to go D2C instead of like trying to get a rack at Selfridges. Do you think
yeah,
there's like a bit more room there?
there is, in a sense, but I think it's two things, right? So I always think because his consumers are most likely going to be younger, those kids have grown up looking and wearing Rick and Balenciaga and all those kind of brands that are popular for like younger kids. And they might ask, depending on the price point, they might ask, why would we spend this much on Kai's brand when we know he's not a designer? We know he doesn't really know much about production when we can just buy Balenciaga instead. So it's like, how does he navigate that?
I
Considering
mean,
the way that he's communicating his stuff now.
the same way the coach does by sort of serving a sort of middle market that kind of works because of the margins and the fact that maybe he doesn't want to go wholesale, right? Like the fact that like if you skip wholesale, you could probably be at a price point where like similar to coach, where like instead of paying $800 for French terry sweats at Balenciaga, you can get $400 ones that are inspired by Kai's love of Balenciaga and still feel like you're getting an authentic product because the authentic
Mm,
experience is through Kai's like journey in fashion and not directly to whatever intellectual thing that Balenciaga is trying to do, right? He may not even understand like the intellectualization behind why he likes that particular garment from Balenciaga, but he'll process it in a way that accentuates what he feels like his customer base needs, and he'll be able to maybe serve it if I think hopefully he gets his economic thinking and customer product design and marketing mix all correct, that
right.
will hopefully be of some value to his customer. Again, it's
Agreed.
Gen
Wait.
Alpha. I've never like even touched the product marketed towards Gen Alpha, so I have no idea what they like and what they buy.
Neither do I, to be honest. Honestly, I don't think he's bad for you either. Did anyone say Kai is bad? From a streamer, I think all his friends are bad. Like Rakai and who's the other guy? I think all of Kai's friends always get him into trouble. He's like the everyone else is the weakest link, and he's like the strong link. Actually, that's what I've always thought. Wait, Luke wants him to fail. Let's see. Because he's not a designer and he can't just become a designer. This is just a dumb venture for a dull person who's rotted the minds of young boys and men. He's trash.
Okay, here's a question I want to give to chat and the youth. Like, is it better if we have no idea who the background of the guy with the money is, and we just and the brand just like cooks like, and that
Yep,
it's a faceless money guy? And is it better than if there's actually somebody
it
like
is.
Omar Freedy, for instance, right? Like Omar Freedy is some shadowy Middle Eastern financier, and like it's a Japanese design duo who does all the garments. And like he's a totally silent partner in the process. He's not in any of the PR or anything. But Omar Freedy is the name of the brand, and all the money goes into his pocket. Like, is that better?
Yes. Yeah, because it's all marketing, right? So it's like,
It's less annoying, but I don't think it's better.
do you think so? Because it's like, I think it just depends. It's like if I started a fashion brand, people would not think I'm like the best designer in the world, but people know that I've been a pattern maker before, so that counts for something. They know I've been around fashion for more than 10 plus years working in the industry. So like there's a certain level of understanding of the way that the ecosystem of fashion works that people understand. They've seen me visit like factories of big luxury brands, so they might make the assumption that Ayo's brand, the quality is going to be decent because of that. So there's like a lot of assumptions that work in my favor. So it would make more sense for me to be the face of my brand. But like you can be the face of your brand and it can work against you. And in those situations, it's better to just be like the background financier who just like funds it and then makes the money off it. So I think it just depends. You have to weigh up, is it a net benefit or a net negative to be the face of the brand?
Yeah, maybe that's the case, but maybe it's not the case with Gen Alpha, right? Like it just maybe like that's the best way of communicating to them is being a children's entertainer.
Yeah, let's see. I don't know. For Kai, it's more like there was no struggle for it. Like he woke up one day and wanted to do it. There was no build up, and funding is different from being the designer. Yeah. I also don't think you have to like struggle to do something. That's another thing. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes you can be good at something and never have to struggle for it. Like there's a lot of couturiers even that were from like aristocracy. Like Christian Dior was from a rich family. Elsa Schiaparelli was from a rich family, like, but they're really good at what they do. So I don't think it's necessary. And then you have people like Cristobal Balenciaga that wasn't from a rich family, or like Coco Chanel that wasn't. I think it just, if you're good at something, you're good at something. You know what I mean? Okay, not struggle, but there was no interest prior. Okay, fair enough. I see what you mean.
I mean, he bought the clothes. He likes wearing those clothes. There is interest. Again,
maybe just not from like a
after
deeper
like
level.
4 seasons, right? Like if he has the love for it, he'll stay in the game longer than what is it? There's this quote that's like the market will stay the market will stay not rational longer than you can stay solvent. What happens if you can be solvent for longer than you can be bad?
That's funny. Just hang in there for as long as possible. Honestly, is he bringing anything innovative or new? I mean, we don't know, but from what I've seen, it just looks like we said, a mixture of the brands that he wears and buys. But we don't actually know until like we get like a proper full collection. There was like a collection that leaked that was like a scam apparently. So like that happened, but not like officially from him. In fact, him showcasing of his thought process, perhaps like there has hurt Vivette before any. Yeah, that's why I said that like he needs better advisors, because like it's okay to show the process, but it has to be things that are more important than just looking at you watching a video that says LVMH, Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy. It's just like there has to be better things prioritized when the camera goes on to kind of document that you're learning about fashion. There just needs to be better things that you're looking at than that. Like it's just not, that's not selling it.
I mean, but there is like an element of like a part of his brand is that he was somewhat deprived from like a high class education, to the extent that like I think on a separate channel he just records himself 20 minutes a day reading a book out loud.
Yeah.
Because he wants to like increase the level of his vocabulary and like the sort of kind of media that he consumes, whether that's performative or not. He's actually doing it, and there is a record and receipts of him doing this for 20 minutes a day, right? And so failing upwards is part of his brand.
Right. His audience is also so young and will grow in age as well as money. He can play it similar to how the Rose early audience knew them from before. Fair enough. As they matured in the industry, it was perfect timing for their audience to have money and influence in fashion. Yeah, although the problem with the Olsen twins though is that they were always ultra celebrities, so their friends, their personal friends are people like Paris Hilton and like shit like that. So there's always like an inherent advantage because all of their friends were involved in fashion as well as them. That's not Kai's situation.
But like just how like Kanye first started his wave by gifting people Yeezys, he'll be able to gift like the entire, top 10% of Twitch his clothes. And they'll be forced as a point of PR to interact with the garments.
Right. Would you take the job of advising Kai, and if so, would you tell us that you did? Yeah, of course. Of course. You know what? People don't know this, but like, I'm actually a consultant. Like, people might not know this. I literally consult for like everyone from like luxury brands to like, there are celebrities that I'm like the consultant behind their brand, but you wouldn't know because I signed an NDA, so I can't tell you who it is. But like, so yeah, I definitely would. I think that would be a lot of fun because I think that once again, there's a lot of information that Kai needs that he just does not have access to. Like, when you hire for your brand, where are you getting the talent from? Are you aware of these where talent is incubated in fashion? What are you looking at to look at the new talent, kind of what's your influence, the way he thinks about fashion, the way that he goes about creating a collection, like there's so many things that he just needs to understand. This is like Lauren Sanchez trying to start a fashion house. No, that's crazy work.
If she does, I wish her the best in the same manner, in the same exact same manner. Right? I
Right.
have no idea what she's contributed to this earth, what her values are, and whatever, what have you. If it increases the amount of people who can pay their bills and get health care, and get a house,
Right.
hopefully it's one of those like super like high-end couture houses where there's very little environmental damage that she's doing. Maybe she makes six-figure gowns and nobody buys them, but she keeps an atelier employed, and we all get to eat and go home at the end of the day feeling good about ourselves.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Can you recap what we are discussing? We are discussing just Kai Cenat's brand, essentially.
Celebrity brands in general, I would say.
And just, celebrity brands in general and like all those kind of things. So
I
we'll
will
see
say
about
that I feel more positively about Kai's brand, just as him being a young person and like him having a very unique like way of marketing to a demographic I know nothing about. Than something like Ferrari. Like to me, like Ferrari is much, much worse.
Yeah.
Like regardless of the fact that like their designs are more tasteful and they have like an obviously defined aesthetic due to like their heritage from motorsports and everything. Like it just makes sense as a brand, but I also hate it more because it's so transparently a trash grab.
That's hilarious. Shout out to Isak. If you're British, thank you for the compliment. Because fit means like you're fit. But yeah, that's interesting. Any other topics that you guys want to talk about? Any other interesting topics?
Do you want to talk a little bit about Playboi Carti? Because I am.
Oh yeah, let's
Playboi
do it. Go. What are areas of contention against Playboi Carti that tend to come up?
Okay, so there's this understanding that Playboi Carti is somewhat influential in male fashion, right?
Okay.
And men's dress.
I believe that to be true.
Opium happened, and there was like a run on like a particular silhouette and specific designers, right?
Destroy Lonely, all that group of people. Yeah.
Okay, and I wasn't the original guy who wanted to discuss Carti, and then I don't remember what capacity that the person in chat wanted to discuss Carti wanted to discuss it. But I think what's interesting about Carti is I don't know if you follow him in his career or like what he does in terms of like his musical eras, but I think with the last one, which was his current one, the music album era, he tried, I think, for a very small window to distance himself from like mass market houses like Rick and Balenciaga, and instead like support like New York based designers and smaller, more independent brands, and also specifically turn his style away from the like avant-garde like dark aesthetics and more towards aesthetics inspired by Atlanta rappers like Gucci Mane and T.I. and stuff like that, in an effort to sort of redefine his visual language to the sort of postmodernist remixing of like '06 Atlanta trap music and its visual aesthetic with like these sort of younger designers and so on and so forth. And there was a concentrated effort against that, and it was, I think, abandoned around the same time that Pharrell like invited him to the LV like runway with Nigo. I think that was around the same time, or maybe it was the Western wear like inspired collection. Around that time, I think he totally abandoned the idea of like trying to define a different visual aesthetic for himself and for the visual like aesthetic associated with this particular album cycle, because it went on for so long. Like it was people kept, making jokes about like how the album took so long to come out that it felt like he discarded entire aesthetics and styles along the way towards eventually being, I think, forced on point of contract with UMG to release a concept album. Right? I think somebody was like saying he's got to release it by this date, or the pre-orders that he sold in the year before would become like targets for federal fraud investigations because he just never released the product. Right? Yeah. I mean, like Frank Ocean, like famously had to give back like $120,000 at some point because he just never shipped albums that he sold like for a Black Friday sale or something. So this is a real thing. People get investigated when they sell stuff, and it's just pre-order, and it never arrives because whether or not you can prove that like you try to make it and you didn't, or you just never had any intention of producing the product in the first place, it's actual fraud after a certain point, right?
Yeah, that is fraud because people paid and didn't receive a product.
Right. And I think that the leading fan theory is that he was forced basically at gunpoint of investigations for fraud allegations for his pre-orders, that he was forced to release an album. But all that to say is that there was at one point like an attempt to I think establish a distinct visual aesthetic that would release him from the sort of grip that like these houses that he had no stock in, that he was just going out and purchasing their clothing. I don't think he was receiving PR from Rick to like make
Right.
Opium. He's never
Right.
appeared at a Rick runway. I've never seen him like, you know, in any capacity with Rick's PR. Like, I don't think he was eating off of that. And I think he really wanted
Yeah.
to be like, okay, if I want to be like, you know, my heroes in like in the sort of industry, I have to like establish some sort of visual identity for myself that I can have some sort of ownership and not just stakeholder claim, but shareholder claim, right? And he just abandoned that shit.
Damn, Cardi B used you for the interest play. That's crazy. Well, they take a bunch of people's money, make a bunch of interest in that 1 month, and then just give you your money back. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I don't know if you like have opinions about like the sort of I'm not gonna say geopolitics, but the economic impact of like a performer or a celebrity and the sort of I think finance brained like not necessarily even finance brain, but just like the ability to be like I'm not just associated with these brands. If I'm so powerful as an influencer that I can define an entire aesthetic like Opium Core, like surely I must be able to do something that's not just
Yeah.
benefiting in houses.
But I think every single artist kind of does that, no? Like even it got to a point where Kendrick became like the biggest Martin Rose and Wells Bonner fanboy, and then before we knew it, he was designing collections in collaboration with Martin, so that he actually makes money off all this promo that he's doing for like Martin Rose and like all these different brands, right? And then he brought her on board and onto his brand. So I think most performers start to realize because you start as like a fan of something and then you start like supporting it and you start supporting it and then you realize that off of you they're making tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands to maybe even millions, and maybe in the case of like Rick Owens and Playboi Carti, because I genuinely believe that the reason why the younger generation is so into Rick Owens is a big reason is like Playboi Carti. So it's just very like it makes sense. It's just like the next stage or the next step in like progression to want to kind of like branch out and do your own thing. It's same thing happened with Kanye West. Kanye West was like, I'm like putting all this time and energy into all these different brands. I'll just make mine type shit. So yeah, I thought that was just kind of like the general direction that most influential performers take. Even ASAP Rocky started his own brand and became creative director of like Ray-Ban. It's like they all just kind of we can't just be fashion icons for the sake of being fashion icons. We need a paycheck to come with it.
Yeah,
That's
I
our
think
stuff.
I think that's a net negative for the world because it's finance brain, right? It's
Right,
like why don't I why am I just a stakeholder, not a shareholder? And it's
right.
producing more physical volume of product and it's polluting the environment and it's producing
Ag-
this for the sake of selling anything to your audience, right? And it's just a matter of like, can you really detect that their heart is in it and that they're doing it for the love of the game, or is it a cash grab? And that's I think you always wish
Mm.
that they actually like it and that they really do love it. Or, you know, hopefully they're like Cardi, where he just abandons it entirely and says, okay, you know what? It's fine. I don't need to like expend all this energy to
Yeah,
like.
yeah, that's crazy that he abandoned that though. That's interesting. That's interesting. But I think so with Playboy, I wouldn't question if he loves it though, or if it's a cash grab, because I've known about Playboi Carti since the Tumblr days, and he's been into fashion since then. So like, I wouldn't question his intention in fashion because of his track record. Even if it was a cash grab, I wouldn't question it because of his track record. It's a bit different to someone that's kind of has not been in it for as long and is like trying to like make money. It would seem more cash grabby in that sense. Like even Kendrick's brand kind of felt a bit cash grabby because he's not. I don't see Kendrick as like a fashion icon or like someone that's been into fashion for a really long time or like really understands it.
I would say that he is like he was, you know, wearing Craig Green, doing performances at the Grammys and stuff. I would say he's like fashion coded.
But the problem is that's because I know his stylist put him in Craig Green. I don't think like if I ask Kendrick Lamar, like how I put it is this: if I ask Playboy Carti, this is like the question I ask myself: what do you love about Rick? I feel like he'll be able to say quite a few profound things. If I ask Kendrick Lamar, what do you think about Craig Green? I don't think he would have anything of meaning to say. I just don't. And that's
Okay.
the difference between like you're actively involved in that brand versus your stylist put that
I
jacket on you.
personally believe that his stylist just puts him in.
Yeah.
I mean, Cardi stylist puts him in.
You think
As a
so?
Playboy Cardi fan, I know that this guy is a you know he has no qualms about abandoning anything in any sort of circumstance that would help him financially. Like I think just this week he left his longtime manager of like 10 plus years and is now being managed by the same company that manages The Weekend because now he has a connect and that man sells out arena tours worldwide. and he's like, I
Right.
want that opportunity, right?
Right.
As a Playboi Carti fan, you know that like he's not going to abandon anything longer than he thinks he's going to receive a return from it, and he'll just drop that thing entirely and move on to the next thing. Which is why it's so hard to get an album out of him, because he'll be like constantly pushing in one direction and then suddenly abruptly stop and move and do something completely different. And whichever thing he picks will eventually grow his audience. Will somehow grow his audience and make him a bigger star. And that's really what I think he's after. He's after being the biggest. I don't think he's after proving any particular one aesthetic
Right.
idea is more core to him as an artist or him as a personality or him personally. I don't think he's about that at all. I think he has no.
That's interesting. I'll take your word for it, because I don't think I'm as knowledgeable about Playboi Carti, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But as because you said you're a Carti defender,
Yes.
How does it make you feel that he has a very personal gain way of interacting with the things that he does? Like, what do you think about that in general?
I mean, I like the reason why I would say I'm a Playboi Carti defender, because I think he's like an extremely hard worker in terms of like just developing like the avant-garde and the cutting edge of aesthetic exploration with the sort of energy of formalism of like the heyday of like New Atlanta trap, where literally every month like people were just inventing new styles left and right. And he takes that energy and he works hard enough and puts literally hours and hours and hours of recording time in the studio into sonic experimentation. And his like artistic output is so wide and so far ranging that's what I like about him. I think as a person, if you just look into like all of his personal life and everything, he's a pretty despicable human being. But he, is very, very strong artistically, and just him being a very disciplined musician and an artist. And I think if you like what he likes, you will like his stuff.
Yeah. Someone said Kendrick is a Chanel ambassador. I don't think being an ambassador makes you a fashion icon. I think being a fashion icon has way more to do with like the way that you interact with fashion, your understanding of fashion, people's knowledge of your knowledge of fashion. When you wear things, are people influenced by what you wear? That's kind of what makes someone a fashion icon versus just being an ambassador. So like, I don't know, like someone like Lady Gaga, she's actually really influential. That's why people say she's a fashion icon. Like when she wears shit, everyone is checking what it is, and like people actually want to dress that way aesthetically, not even like on a product basis, just like aesthetically, people want to dress like her. Also, people have learnt a lot about fashion from Lady Gaga. Obviously, it's not just Lady Gaga, her stylist too, and like the pulls she's done, and that like Lady Gaga is literally on like historical fashion mood boards that Kendrick has not been anywhere near. Like there's literally moments in time in fashion where like Lady Gaga's face is like part of it. Kendrick has not reached that level yet. Like even Rihanna, that's why she's a fashion icon. Like Rihanna is literally associated with certain eras. Like there was a time when like hip hop and like urban culture was like into high fashion, and Rihanna is like at the forefront of that alongside people like A$AP Rocky. Like the reason why, let's say, certain brands are popular, like Bottega, especially in like black culture, is because of people like Rihanna and A$AP Rocky and Kanye West. Kendrick Lamar is not part of that list. Like Kendrick Lamar is not the reason why people wear Bottega. Kendrick Lamar is not the reason why people wear Auntie Minimista. He's not the reason why people wear Rick.
I will say he's a good reason. He's a good part of the reason why they wear those LV knockoff Cortezes, because he legitimately
right.
the dude.
Yeah, because he's from Compton. That's what they wear, the Cortezes. Yeah, he wears the Nike Cortez or the other. I'd argue Kendrick is the reason people rock Martin. I mean, I'm from London, so I'm from London, so I've been wearing Martine Rose since like. Look, let me show you guys how old some of my Martine Rose videos are. Like, so I don't know. In London, I don't know. Maybe in the US, but in London, I'm not sure about all of that. Like,
Martine is one of the like most influential menswear designers of the 21st century. Like, there's zero chance.
Yeah, like she literally like Demna and all that sort of stuff. Like this. So okay, I'll put this on the screen. So this is like some random video I made about Martine Rose, like her Spring Summer 20 collection that was like damn near close to 7 years ago. And this is when she was already like super popular. Like she had like the most popular brand at London Fashion Week. Like this is like when the big show to go to at London Fashion Week was Martine Rose. So like most people have known about Martine Rose for like a very long time. Like a very, 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 very long time.
I want to say how long ago it was. I don't remember the exact year, but I remember her crest, at least in American menswear circle estimations, started rising around the same time the Supremes fell. That's how back it was.
Yeah.
When Supreme was falling off, like post the sort of extraction from the Louis Vuitton collaboration with Kim Jones, like when that fall off was happening, Martine Rose was coming up. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, sad for the United States, not in the UK. In the States, nobody was caring for Martine. I would give it to you for Wells Bonner, to be honest. I think Martine was just so influential in fashion. She's been for so long. But I think with Wells Bonner, once again in London, has always been big because Wells Bonner. But in the US, I do think Wells Bonner was actually quite niche, which is kind of strange because her references from her early collections were like about like HBCUs and she was going to like Howard and shit. But clearly it didn't connect. I definitely would give Kendrick like he might be a big reason why a lot of people know about Wells Bonner and even wear it. I could give him that. Maybe not Martin Rose, but I could give him Wells Bonner. Yes, actually, Wells' profile in the USA was significantly more than Martine's by Kendrick. Yeah, yeah. So Wells Bonner, I definitely give that. Like the more I think about it, I'm like Wells Bonner definitely. Kendrick helped her career. But then the question you have to ask, because this is the difference. The way that Kendrick wears Wells Bonner, do people wear Wells Bonner that way? Like when they wear it. That's the other thing. Because when Kanye wore like let me show you guys some outfits just to show you like how influential someone like Kanye is.
I want to say that there was like a slight change in the sense that Kendrick wore it like sportswear and not
Right.
like the sort of vintage prep that it really was. There was a bit of a change.
Okay, let me show this. Okay, stuff like this. So when Kanye wore these kind of outfits, like wearing Bottega Veneta Chelsea's, Kanye was like, Ye was so influential that gangsters that wore like oversized Parkers, baggy trousers, and like Timberland boots started wearing Chelsea boots. Like, do you know how insane that is? To take someone that wears like baggy Parkers and tracksuits and Timberland boots to change their whole aesthetic to wearing skinny jeans and Bottegas. That was when I literally remember this time like it was yesterday where like there were memes. This was actually quite a while, like more than 10 years ago, but there were like memes of people being like, oh, everyone is dressing formal now. Everyone is dressing like an uncle going to church. Like those were the memes back then. Because everyone changed the way that they dress because Kanye dressed like this. That is like when you think of like fashion icon, you have to have like that level of like influence. If you call yourself like a fashion icon, like it has to be like that level. Like Paris Hilton, for example, I'll show you guys something else. Like Paris Hilton arc. So the reason why Y2K became like a big thing and the reason why like all these like soccer moms started wearing Uggs was because of people like Paris Hilton that would wear Uggs and they were so influential that regardless of what people were wearing, everyone started wearing Uggs. She's so influential that till today, Ugg is trying really hard to market towards men and come out of this understanding that Uggs is for soccer moms and they just can't get out of it. Like, because of people like Paris Hilton. That is like, when you say like someone is a fashion icon, it has to be like that level of influence of changing the way that people dress to be like a fashion icon. Like that's the level of like influence you have to have. Had Scott Disick dressing like this form suit. Yeah, Scott Disick was dressing like that, wasn't he? That's funny. He actually was. Like Kanye West is the reason why you have like, let me show you guys. What's his name again? Okay. Kanye West is the reason why, let me go, Diggy Simmons was dressing like a certain way in the 2010s. And like, it was, like this kind of style, the reason why Diggy Simmons used to dress like this is because of Kanye West. Like that's the only reason why he used to dress like this. Kanye West is the reason why Jason Derulo used to dress the way he used to dress in the 2010s. Let me find it. Jason Derulo. Yeah, like this kind of style, kind of like the whole like waistcoat shit. It's because Kanye started dressing more formal and wearing like high fashion in that way. So he would wear like Andumillamista in that way. Like, let me show you guys like early Kanye West, like Andumillamista outfits. It was like kind of a similar vibe. Like, yeah, like stuff like this like smart casual kind of like smart casual streetwear kind of look. That is what influenced everyone to dress in that sort of like Diggy Simmons, Jason Derulo way in that era. So like when we say like fashion icon, style icon. It's like this level of, and there aren't many. It's like Kendrick is so far away from being on that level of influence in fashion. Like he's very far. Like very, like for example, Tyler the Creator, I would say is a fashion icon too. I think he changed like certain people's aesthetic completely, and kind of like the reason why preppy trends in fashion as a whole came back is because of people like Tyler the Creator. So like he's someone I would say is a fashion icon. Yeah, the Balmain era as well. Like yeah, like the biker denim. Like literally changed the way everyone was dressing, not just like a tiny minute group of people. So yeah, that's kind of like my parameter. I just wanted to use those examples when I say like, oh, this person's like a fashion icon. It has to be like that level of like influence. Exactly what like
all that to say again for the person who asked about Cardi, celebrate failure and quitting because it really does help.
Agreed. Look for a pic of Kanye with the stripes. Are you talking about the shutter shades? The shutter shades. Let's see. Shutter
Man,
shades.
that era, the 2000